Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video. I wanted to share a little adventure that I had recently. So I was doing a bit of a search around and I realized that one of my local Ford dealerships, they had a Mustang Mach-E California Route 1 edition in stock. So this Ford Mustang Mach-E, apparently when I got there, they had it in stock and I could test drive it and everything else, but it's a demo. And, you know, Ford was smart enough. I think they anticipated how much demand there would be for the Mach-E. So they sent out some of these demos that the dealerships can't sell, you know, until they've had a certain number of test drives, miles, whatever. This is really smart. It gets a lot of butts and seats, but the big thing is with the Mach-E, it is such a popular car right now. They're just not sitting on dealership lots. People are buying them up super quick. They said the ones that they could sell that they got in were out the door in a day, right? From within the day they were posted online. So it's smart that Ford is doing this demo. Yeah, it gave me a chance to get my hands on one, do a quick test drive. I didn't have a lot of time with it, but I wanted to share, you know, my impressions, my first thoughts after driving it and checking it out. Now, the first thing I want to say though is the Ford Mustang Mach-E California Route 1 edition, that is the edition that I would get, or the version that I would get if I were to buy a Mustang Mach-E. And the reason for that is it's a sort of its own trim level. It sits between the base level Select and the top end Premium, but it has sort of elements of both. It has leather seats, nice comfortable leather seats, proper width, good bolstering. At least the driver's side is actually power adjustable, but there's no heating, no ventilation that I know of. So it's sort of in between there. It has the panoramic roof, which is nice. It has a lower end stereo than the Premium trim. It also lacks that kick open for the rear hatch, which is kind of a bummer. You don't really have a button to open, like, so you actually have to take the fob out and press it to open it. So that's a little unfortunate. But otherwise, I mean, it's really nice. It's a really good trim. It's a good sort of balance between top end and the base level Select trim. So I really like that. And then of course, what I actually really like about it is it has that 305 mile EPA rated range. Now, Ford uses the more conservative EPA testing cycle, like GM used with the Chevrolet Bolt EV or Hyundai used with the Kona Electric. So that 305 miles of range that Ford is stating, you should be able to see that in the Mach-E Route 1, or at least close to 300 miles, even at 70 to 75 mile an hour freeway speed. That puts the Mach-E Route 1 in rarefied air. I don't know of too many other EVs that can do that, period. And under $50,000, the only one that even comes close is the Tesla Model 3 long range. And even then, I'm not sure how reasonable it is to expect close to 300 miles when you're doing 75 mile an hour freeway driving. So it puts the Mach-E Route 1 in sort of a higher tier in terms of range. Part of how they achieve that is they're using these aerodynamic rims. I noticed that they're still using the Primacy AS tires, the Michelin Primacy AS, and those are eco-focused, but eco-focused isn't the same as low rolling resistance. And I think you'll see this across the board with the Mach-E, that they're leaving a lot you know, on the cutting room floor. And a lot of it is software driven though, so they could fix it that way. This is one of those things though, just changing out the Primacy AS with something like the MX M4 Michelins, which actually are low rolling resistance, they'd probably get another 15 to 20 miles out of the Mach-E Route 1 if they wanted to go that direction. All told though, it's still an impressive package. And like I said, I think it's a good balance between the Select trim and the Premium trim. Now, there are some things I liked about it. There's some things I didn't like about it. Some of the standouts in terms of things that I didn't like about it is I didn't think that the interface was all that intuitive. Even after about 30 minutes with the car, I didn't feel like I had a really good grasp or understanding of how to navigate or use the UI. Now, it's very very snappy, it's very responsive, it's cleanly designed. It's just not that intuitive. And then of course, one of the big no-nos that the Mach-E is lacking an instantaneous power reading. And that's really important for EVs. Whether you're driving, regenerative braking, or charging, you want to see the instantaneous power either coming out of the battery or going back into the battery, displayed in kilowatts. That's nowhere in their system. I get it, right? Even their Ford Ranger electric that I have from 20 years ago does not have instantaneous power reading. It just shows how close to empty, but I think it's something Ford should consider incorporating in their EVs. It would be akin to, in a gas car, your instantaneous fuel usage or consumption, right? How many miles per gallon are you getting at that moment? Because it gives you a gauge of, like I said, your range, efficiency, all number of things. So it's an important thing that I think Ford is going to need to incorporate in one of their software updates. Now, I know some people have also complained about the Mach-E's charging curve. I'm not going to go into that. I'm aware of the details, but I only want to speak about the things that I have kind of firsthand experience with or firsthand knowledge of. And again, that's another one of those things where I do, based on what I've seen, it needs to be improved, but that can be done through software. But the other thing too, and this is where I say there's a lot left on the cutting room floor, this Ford Mustang Mach-E Route 1 or any of the extended range Mach-E's, they have a 99 kilowatt hour battery pack, but only 88 kilowatt hours of it is accessible to the user. And based on what I've seen, again, I don't have firsthand knowledge of this, it looks like only about 85 kilowatt hours, maybe 84 kilowatt hours is from 0 to 100%. They have a bottom end buffer that some EVs lack that will get you another 5, 10, 15 miles after you hit 0. So it's not a true 0. But that's still a lot of energy that they've left untapped in that battery. I would not be surprised to see an update from Ford where they unlock another 5 to 8 kilowatt hours of usable battery capacity. That's another 20, 30, maybe even as much as 40 miles of range. That's just there under a software lock. So hopefully, Ford considers doing some of those things, improving some of those aspects of the car. One of the other things I didn't really like about the Mach-E is the false floor in the back. They don't seem to fit the way that they should. I think that storage management in the back with the chargers, all of that, I think in the cabling, I think automakers can do a better job of thinking about it. But one thing, again, though, that the Mach-E has that I really love is that soft cargo net over the top of the cargo bay. That soft top covers your cargo, keeps it obscured, but doesn't interfere. It's light, easy to remove. So that's great. There wasn't as much space in the Mach-E as I thought there would be. Some of that I think has to do with the windows, and maybe it's just not letting in as much light. It's not as visible with a black interior on the Route 1. Apparently, I guess the lighter interior isn't available on the Route 1, but I personally wouldn't want that one anyway. But yeah, so it seemed a little bit more compact inside, but you can tell it's still a fairly big car, and there's a lot of room. I didn't feel cramped inside, but it's definitely in the same ballpark as the Jaguar I-Pace, a little bigger than the Audi e-tron, that sort of thing. So it's a really good space, a really good size, and like I said, the seats were comfortable. Everything about the car, I fit in it well, right? And it's just Ford knows how to make a nice, comfortable interior, intuitive buttons where they need to be. Like I said, that's why maybe the UI being less intuitive kind of stood out to me. And then in terms of driving, though, actually driving the car, it's a rear-wheel drive, and I thought the power to weight ratio was fine. I thought it handled fairly well. It was very well behaved, quiet on the road, easy to handle, good steering input. All of that was really nice. The one criticism I have about the driving dynamics is it has the regenerative braking and the one pedal driving. I don't really care for the way they implemented the one pedal driving. It doesn't come to a complete stop the way I'd want it to. The other thing I didn't like about the one pedal driving that they did is they did something similar to what Nissan did with their Leaf. And it appears that the regenerative braking, if you put it in low, or they call it B mode in the Nissan Leaf, it actually affects the pedal sensitivity, and that I don't like, right? I prefer the accelerator pedal to feel consistently regardless of what regenerative braking mode you're in. The only difference is when you let off the accelerator, it either regenerates more aggressively or less aggressively based on your setting. I don't like to feel like I'm pressing through resistance with the accelerator pedal. But outside of that, right, it was great. Just tooling around town, driving 50 to 60 miles an hour in the loop, come back 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour. It's a very efficient car, especially for the size. Even tooling around town, you can expect well over 300 miles of range. Like I said, based on the kilowatt hours available in the battery, 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour is somewhere between 340 and 360 miles of range between 0 and 100%. That's massive, right? That's more than a lot of people will use. So all of that was very, very impressive. But yeah, I just like the car. I like the packaging, the quality of the interior, the look and feel. Like I said, there's a lot of little stuff that Ford, I think, needs to work on in the car, but most of it is software based. And the things that aren't software based, you know, there are workarounds. Either you can get a different trim level, like I said, that has the kick open for the rear hatch, the premium trim for the better stereo, or like heated seats or whatever. So it's really only a few things with software that I think Ford needs to improve with the Mach-E, but overall I'm super impressed with it. I really like the car. I really like the design, the look, the feel, the driving dynamics. There are just a few things that I would change here or there. But yeah, that's my first impressions on the car. I'll see maybe if I can get a longer test drive with it from the dealership. I'd like to do maybe a more accurate assessment of the efficiency at different speeds just to see where the Route 1 fits in that. But overall, yeah, it's a great car. It's a car that I would recommend to anyone who drives long distances regularly. I think, you know, you would benefit from it, and it's something that, like I said, it's very high on my list of considerations. So I'd love to hear what you think. Do you own a Mach-E? Are there any places where I kind of, you know, missed the mark in terms of what it has, what it doesn't have? Is there maybe a setting or something that I missed out on? Is a Mach-E a car that you're considering? What questions do you have about it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and thank you for watching.